The Huawei Mateview GT 27 is a great looking 27-inch display that is great for media consumption, productivity, and casual gaming, but if you're looking for a proper gaming display, this isn't it. Hey guys, I got the Mateview GT 27 a few weeks ago and have been testing it out ever since, so let's talk about it. Now the Mateview has some solid specs on paper. Running at 165 Hz at 1440p on a VA panel with support for HDR10. It also has a 4000:1 contrast ratio and a color representation of 120% of sRGB and 90% of DCI-P3. Those are some nice specs on paper. It's also pretty well designed on the outside. The 1500R curved display is surrounded by very thin bezels, and the whole look of the display is really minimalistic. It's all black everywhere, apart from the dark gray Huawei text both front and back, and as well as the text, there is a glossy silver ring on the back as well. The stand itself is just a single black pylon that comes down and towards you and forms a T on the table. Now the end of the stand does protrude further than the edge of the display, so some might find this problematic. Although I don't know why, because if you're making your desk ergonomic, as you should, your display should be around your arm's length away from you. And that should provide you ample space for both a keyboard and your mouse and whatever other peripherals you have. I also quite like the flat T-shape of the stand because, well, it looks sleek, but since it's flat on top, you can grab a few command strips and just tape down some of your smaller peripherals like a USB hub or a memory card reader. It's nice to have that space still being able to be utilized, even though there's a stand there. Now, one of the Mateview's downsides comes in the form of its ports. It has one HDMI 2.0 port, one DisplayPort 1.4, and that's it. Nothing else. Well, you do have a USB-C port, but that is only for powering up the display. So if you're looking for a display that you will use with multiple devices, this display is not it. Now, I mentioned that the specs seem good on paper, but some of those shortcomings that I'll get into in a second actually drop this display from one of its aim categories entirely. But before that, let me say that the display looks good. Whether you're running it in the sRGB or the P3 modes, you're getting good color representation. And with 110 ppi or pixels per inch, that 1440p looks crisp. It also offers you an excellent 178-degree viewing angles. So there is no direction you can't look at this display from where it will change at all. Trust me, I tried. One curious thing about the display though is the fact that it has Freesync and G-Sync support, but those are turned off by default and they're not mentioned anywhere. How you turn it on is by holding the joystick away from you for 10 seconds and a new option will just pop up in your menu for adaptive sync, and then you can just turn it on or off whenever you please. But this isn't even mentioned in the manual or any of the marketing. Why? Speaking of the menus, they look good, clean, simple. They're easy to use and they're easy to navigate using the joystick, which is placed in a very convenient location. So while all that is good and dandy, what is the downside? What are they? Well, for starters, the big one, the HDR. It is awful. It is so bad. Turning on HDR on this display, while it does support it, makes the display look like crap. Everything is desaturated to all hell, it becomes extremely dim, and the whole point of HDR is gone. It's not often that you get a feature in a product that is heavily advertised that should have been just left out completely. Another thing that drops this display from that category that I mentioned before is the fact that it has a 4 millisecond response time. Now, this might not sound like a lot to you, but if you're playing some high action video games and you're used to playing on a 1 millisecond display, there is a difference, and it is clear. Now, if you're playing more casual games and you're playing more single player games, then 4 milliseconds is nothing. It doesn't matter at that point. So if you're doing casual gaming, this display will be fine. If you're doing more fast-paced multiplayer games, then this display is not the best option. On top of that, there is noticeable ghosting. As you can observe when we do the Blur Busters UFO test, the ghosting on this monitor is just straight up bad. But the display does offer you a chance to combat that by going into overdrive mode. Now there are 4 settings to this, each making the display faster, and it's supposed to reduce the ghosting. But the problem with that is that using that overdrive mode actually starts to introduce artifacting. So now you have to go into this balancing act on whether you want ghosting or artifacting. And this is just something that you shouldn't have to do. All in all, it's a solid display for the use cases that I said earlier. Media consumption, productivity, and casual gaming. That's fine. But for hardcore gaming, not really. And considering that this display is 449 euros, there are so many better options. There's just not a single thing that I can think of why you would want to choose this over any of the other options that you have for even cheaper than this. If you're gonna go down the road of, well, it has HDR, no it doesn't. It just doesn't, okay? That point is moot. Alright guys, that's it for me. What do you guys think of the Mateview GT 27? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like the video, remember to like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. If you want to support me further, there's a link in the description that you can find. That is it for me this time. As always, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys next time. Alright, bye!